Over the last few decades, advancements in science and health have allowed athletes to enjoy longer careers than what they did in the past. As a business, that's good news for the NBA, considering the longer star players remain in the league, the more fans they'll attract to games. However, that's not the case for all players. One of the reasons why players attain star status is because they're able to keep playing at a high level for multiple years, which usually ensures them a long and successful career. But for most players, a career that lasts over 10 years is not a possibility, and in some cases, even star players are not that fortunate. Derrick Rose was the protagonist of one of these situations a few years ago when multiple injuries took him from being one of the best players in the league to contemplating retirement. But now, after a couple of impressive seasons, it looks like the former MVP is ready to take the next step in his career and become part of a contender once again. Welcome to Courtside. Today we're talking about Derrick Rose's incredible comeback story and how there's a chance some of his best years might still be to come. The start of the point guard's NBA career was an unusual one. The previous year, the Chicago Bulls had finished with the 9th worst record in the league, and their chance to obtain a top 3 pick in the draft were minimal. However, they beat the odds in the lottery and were awarded the first pick in the 2008 draft, despite coming off a 33-49 record, thus becoming one of the teams with the lowest chances of winning to receive the first pick in the draft. In turn, the Bulls used their selection of Rose, who was native from Chicago, to start a new era in the franchise's history. During his first season in the league, the point guard fulfilled expectations as he won Rookie of the Year and led his team to the playoffs after a one-year break. And though the Bulls had a short postseason run, they surprised most people by taking the defending champion Boston Celtics to a Game 7 in the first round. Rose made a few improvements to his game in the following year, earning his first All-Star selection. However, his team's record would remain the same, and they would put less of a fight in the playoffs this time around. But then it came the hiring of Coach Tom Thibodeau. Before the start of the 2010-11 season, Rose was asked what were his expectations for the season, and he gave a bold answer by saying expectations were high, as well as asking why he couldn't become the most valuable player. Under Thibodeau and with multiple new teammates, Rose averaged career highs in points, steals, and rebounds per game while also leading Chicago to the best record in the league. As the best player and the best team, he realized his prediction by becoming the youngest player to win the MVP. However, the Bulls came up short in the playoffs as they lost in the conference finals against the Miami Heat. And as it turned out, that would be the closest they would get to a championship up until today. In the lockout-shortened season, Rose played a career low in games due to injuries, but the Bulls managed to finish with the first seed in the Eastern Conference once again. However, in the first round of the playoffs, the team and the former MVP were hit by catastrophe. In the closing minutes of Game 1 against Philadelphia, Rose tore the ACL in his left knee and had to miss the rest of the playoffs, as well as all of the following season in order to heal. Without him, Chicago was eliminated by the Sixers that year and then by Miami in the second round of next season. Still, there was hope that his return would take the Bulls back into contention, but after playing in 10 games in 2013, he suffered a torn meniscus in his right knee and had to miss the rest of the season once again. By the time of his second return, the team's roster was very different. Only Taj Gibson, Joakim Noah, and Jimmy Butler had played a full season with the point guard before. However, new additions such as Paul Gasol and Nikola Mirotic made the team arguably the deepest and talented it had been in years. So a healthy Rose was expected to make them even better. But while the Bulls managed to finish with their best record since 2012, chemistry issues and tension between Thibodeau and the front office were the team's main headlines. And a few more injuries suffered by Rose only increased the uncertainty surrounding the team. However, the point guard healed in time for the playoffs and had some vintage performances, including a game winner on the last second of Game 3 against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the second round. But the fit of his team wasn't good enough, and they would ultimately be eliminated by LeBron James and company once again. What followed was a period of uncertainty for the former MVP. He was available for most of the following season, but was not at full strength. And since the Bulls took a step back, they decided to trade their former franchise player to New York after the end of the season. With the Knicks, he had his most productive year since tearing his ACL and was looking like a solid player despite the team's poor performance. However, close to the end of the season, Rose tore his left meniscus, requiring surgery to repair a major injury for the 4th time in 5 years. At that point, the constant injuries had started to harm him on the mental aspect, as he wondered whether he should continue playing or take a step away from the game. That frustration was evident during his time with the Cavaliers in the next season, as he was absent from the team for around 2 months while healing from injuries and reevaluating his desire to keep playing. But after a series of moves reunited him with Thibodeau in Minnesota, he was able to show he still had a lot left in the tank. A short stint with the team in which he averaged 14 points per game during the playoffs convinced them to give him another contract. The point guard made the most out of it. Now in a reserve role, Rose had a very productive season, and despite dealing once again with a few injuries, he was able to play in 51 games. During the season, he had arguably the most emotional moment of his career as he was able to lead the Wolves to a win over Utah after scoring a career-high 50 points. With tears in his eyes, he mentioned how that performance meant everything for him, as it showed he was still capable of playing like an elite guard. After finishing the season, he decided to join the Detroit Pistons to form what looked like an intriguing combination of players with Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. However, Griffin went down early in the season because of injuries, and the team slowly started to rebuild. Still, despite what was going on around him, Rose seemed to be happy and had his most productive season since coming back from injury, as well as arguably one of the healthiest ones. His performance also garnered interest from title contenders close to last season's trade deadline. At the moment, multiple reports suggested the Lakers were interested in reuniting him with LeBron to improve their backcourt rotation. And while that didn't end up taking place, rumors have been heating up about his availability once again as we get closer to the offseason, which makes complete sense. Despite not being as explosive as he was during his early years with the Bulls, his last 2 seasons have shown Rose is still an excellent shot creator and passer. He doesn't have all of his athleticism, but his game is now under much more control, and he's able to change speed seamlessly. That, combined with his creativity and refined jump shot, has made him one of the most polished veteran point guards in the league. When adding his previous experience, his team-friendly contract, and the fact he's excelled in his role as a sixth man, he could be one of the most intriguing guards in the trade market along with Chris Paul and Drew Holiday. So while he may not be leading a team to the best record in the league anymore, he could be providing additional scoring and playmaking to a championship contender as a third option. On the other hand, he could join a young team and become a mentor and a veteran leader to help them become a playoff contender. Or he could remain in Detroit to try to help his young teammates improve while also taking leadership of the team with Griffin once the power forward recovers. In any case, it's safe to say Rose should receive interest from multiple teams in trade scenarios. And that's been possible because of his perseverance, self-confidence, and commitment to the game. After the narrative around him became that he couldn't remain healthy and wasn't as good as he used to be, it would have been easy for him to step away from the game, and his multiple injuries certainly made him think about that possibility before. But he decided to keep going instead of giving up. He remained patient and went through multiple surgeries and rehabilitation treatments with the hope of returning to the court and helping a team win games again. And as his 50-point game in the last couple of seasons have shown, he's capable of doing that. Now, the only thing missing from his resume is a championship ring. As he mentioned after joining Detroit last year, he already has all the individual accolades in his career. The only thing missing is a title. And if you believe that's possible with the Pistons, he'll probably have the chance to remain with them. If he doesn't, he'll also have the attention of better teams. He's earned it. Perhaps he may even consider returning to his hometown someday, but that could still be a few years away from now. All in all, few players have had a story as inspiring as that of Rose. While many have been the players that ended out of the league or weren't able to perform as their former selves following a major injury, the point guard never gave up on himself. He was contemplating retirement, but was able to put himself together and kept believing in his talent. Now he's placed himself in a position where he could join a championship contender. And if he ends up winning a ring soon, this story will only keep getting better. But now, what's been your favorite Rose moment? Where do you think he should be playing next? Let us know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and if you did, remember to like it and subscribe to our channel so you can get more NBA content. Because we are Courtside.